Alright, back again with another unscripted video. Let's go. This is a friggin' the second one in a week. That coffee tastes good. Alright. So, first off, I'm gonna say that sorry that there's no video that came out yesterday. Frickin', oh my god, having to dodge copyright claims as somebody who doesn't have any subscribers, like, at all, is incredibly hard. And for some odd reason, some of the freaking clips that I put in the last video are copyright claimed, even though I'm using it as commentary and for technically like a critical standpoint, but I'm currently disputing them. If I can't get them disputed, I might just scrap the video entirely, even though it took me like 4 hours to freaking put together, and I tried pretty hard on the editing. But anyways, just want to get that out of the way. Want to talk about that. I don't really know what I'm going to do for this video. I might try and draw some cartoon characters, because I don't necessarily just want to put some still frames up on the image, because it's super boring, so. But, today, we're talking about Rising of the Shield Hero, and how social justice warriors are just equating it to basically Goblin Slayer at this point. Oh, man. Okay. So, this all started when some articles on the Anime News Network came out, rating it really freaking low. And basically the only reason that they rated it low stems from the fact that the Shield Hero was betrayed by a girl. And most importantly, he was betrayed by her falsely accusing him of rape. And to quote this is the first article, I'm just kind of looking at it right now. Making Naofumi's fall from grace the result of his partner, Mine, falsely accusing him of rape, isn't just ethically dubious and needlessly off-putting, it's also lazy storytelling. Now, I don't necessarily think it's lazy storytelling, because it's not just her falsely accusing him of rape that causes the entire situation. It's supposed to be the entire world. It's supposed to give Naofumi, it's supposed to give him his cynical little outlook on life. And because that's unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but that's what gets him, that's what gets this isekai fantasy story, it's a little kind of thing that it gives it. It's a little oomph, it's a little character trait that puts it past all the rest. Now, I've obviously only seen the first episode, and I've yet to read any of the light novels, but after watching this episode, I was incredibly excited. I was like, yeah, this is gonna be super good, and I was in nowhere in my mind was I thinking, oh man, this freaking writer, can't believe he put in a false accusation of rape as a way of demoralizing somebody else and making them fall from grace and making the eyes of the world turn away from them. It's almost like they think that doesn't happen. It's not lazy storytelling, it's just a means of conveying it's a means of giving the character his cynical outlook. There's multiple ways of doing that, and all of them are cliche. You could have his entire family killed. Wow, that's like the most cliched. Now, can it be done right? Yes, it can be done right, but there's other ways that he could have done this that are more cliche than all of them. And I think that they're getting their panties in a wad, or their britches, I don't know, it's, whatever, it could be a guy or a girl. The one that I'm reading right now is James Beckett. He's getting himself wrapped tight about this false accusation, when it's not even a big deal. He writes, when Mine erroneously describes this world as a matriarchy, despite the ruler being, a king, its proximity to the reveal of Mine's betrayal creates a link between these two elements that's impossible to ignore. The implication, intended or not, is that in a world that venerates women, deceptive snakes like Mine will say whatever they want, and poor nice guys like Naofumi will suffer. Now, I will give them credit that part did kind of make me a little bit questioning, because it doesn't necessarily, because they do have a king, so it's not really a matriarchy, but whatever. I kind of just brushed it aside. I'm reading this, and I don't know how to put this without offending people, but false rape accusations do ruin people's like social standing. It happens, and they are false, and they can't do anything about it. And I'm not saying this to say that, oh man, you can't trust women for their like rape accusations, but whenever you exonerate someone from the accusations and they're proven to not be true on multiple accounts, and the person still can't get their life back just because of one person saying that they were sexually abused by them, that's just a problem in the way that the system works. And for this to happen, they didn't even ask the Shield Hero at all. Like, they didn't get his side of the story or anything, and he was just completely set up by this woman, and no repercussions are going to go to her because he can't defend himself because there's no proof, and she planted proof to get his way with him. It's just, I don't think that it's necessarily an implication that the writer is like a cynical whatever like guy who's just taking out his feelings on this like story. But I think that you have to separate an author's main character, they're necessarily their main character, from themselves, because not everybody is writing about themselves. You can try and create a character that is completely different from you and can be your ideal. I'm gonna bring this into example. Whenever I played D&D, whenever I started playing D&D like years ago, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make this super hardcore badass, like that's like my ideal version of me. And like, I'm pretty sure everyone starts their D&D kind of their fantasy like enjoyment, or their fantasy like journey that way. They want to make the ideal version, the really cool badass, like, oh man, I'm so edgy, or something like their character. And you have to separate yourself from associating with that, because that doesn't necessarily mean that they are that person. People can do something in a video game and not be that person outside. People can write about something and not support it. It's seen in many works where, like, say, taking Goblin Slayer, he writes about freaking goblins raping village girls. Does he support that in any way? No. But it is a plot it's a plot in his fantasy setting that he has to address, and he has to give the reader that, because that is his fantasy realm. That's what happens in the realm. He doesn't necessarily support it, but that's just something that happens. I'm drawing a lot of comparisons between this and Goblin Slayer, mostly because Goblin Slayer like was the most controversial anime of last season, or probably of last freaking year, according to like going off of like the whole like sexual controversy, not necessarily it just being bad or people not liking the ending, like, you know, with Darling in the Franxx or something. Anyways, what do I want to talk about next? Yeah, so I think that they just need to get over themselves when talking about this, because it's a book, okay? If you don't like it, you don't have to read it. I personally think that the story will probably be pretty great. I think later on, they talk about something else. They talk about, somebody else talks about the him getting a slave at the end. So at the end of episode 1, he's going to buy a slave, or at least he's going to look at them. We don't necessarily know he's going to buy them, because he just follows the man. He doesn't really say anything. And maybe he doesn't like, well, I don't know. And he talks about how the slaves cannot disobey him. And at the end of the scene, it shows a girl, which will be the female protagonist. I don't see why people have a problem in this. So slaves have been a common trope in, well, not common, but they're not uncommon in many fantasy like stories, along with like sexual abuse and all that in many fantasy stories. And I don't necessarily see why people are getting so hung up on him buying a slave. Obviously, if people use this opportunity to elicit like sexual behavior, that is in a different category of like novel altogether, and would not be published under this under like a standard streaming or TV selection. So it's not necessarily like a bad thing. Like, I don't get why you're getting all mad about having slaves in anime. Like, I've seen slaves in terrible anime, like freaking Master Ragnarok had slaves. That's a complete ass of an anime. What else had slaves? Pretty sure Berserk had some depiction of slaves. The manga, the original like source material did. There's a lot of series that have have slaves as a plot device in their story, and it's not supporting it again because that's just the overarching fantasy world that they live in. It's not necessarily supporting it, but since it is an element of it, he has to include it and make the reader know about it because it will come up in the grand scheme of things. The introduction of the slaves at the end of this episode or the slave, the girl, I think is more to characterize on the mistrust of the protagonist himself, and not necessarily to be like, oh, we have slaves in this anime, oh, we're edgy, oh my gosh, she's about to buy a slave and do horrible things to her. Like, no, that's in nowhere in the realm of this episode was that even a thought. Like, if he did buy a slave, okay, whatever, he bought a slave. Like, that's a part of this realm, and that's the only way that he can really get party members that he can trust, because they can't disobey him. That's part of characterizing him as mistrusting someone who's an outcast, someone who nobody will work with them. It was shown previously that people were like, oh yeah, we'll be in your party, man. And then they tried to like freaking mug him, and then he just beat them down. Like, he doesn't have trust in people. He doesn't have anything. He can't get friends. Nobody's gonna trust him. He cannot trust anybody because they will just probably betray him, like they did with the guys in the bar when they tried to mug him. And just all that. And I think that him buying someone that cannot misbehave or try to betray him is part of his character development. And we haven't even gotten to the second episode yet, so we don't even see what's going to happen between him and the slave. So you can't really base an entire like early review off of like maybe, what was it, like 8 seconds of a clip in an anime. Like, that can be so misleading. The whole thing about context in anything, context is needed. And if you just take this little snapshot of this episode and just put it on the friggin' front page of Reddit or Anime News Network and be like, oh my gosh, this anime supports slavery, people are going to be like, wow, yeah, and people aren't going to read into it, and they're going to be put off by this anime, and then they're going to rally behind a false flag. Oh my gosh. So, I've been ranting for a while. I don't necessarily know if any of this makes any sense, because I woke up and was browsing Reddit and seeing people and Twitter and just seeing people blowing up about this, and I'm like, what's going on? So, if this made any sense to you, props to you, I guess. I just basically, I'm just mad. I don't want people to be taking anime out of context and like criticizing stories for plot elements that don't necessarily line up with the author's moral compass. Like, it can be a part of a fantasy setting and not necessarily be part of what they believe in. I think I should stop. Yeah, so that's going on. Moral of the story is, if you don't like it, don't watch it. And for someone who posts reviews about a lot of anime, and for them to be so blind going into this and be so left, I don't want to say left-leaning, because there are left-leaning people that are very open about this kind of thing, but they're very one-track minded in making these reviews. I think it's just sad, and I don't want to see the anime or anime in general being like censored, which obviously we're in the West and it's up to the whoever streams it if they're gonna censor it, but I don't want them to feel the need to cut scenes because of people who don't like the anime or the content that is in it. I think that's dumb. I think that's catering to a minority, and you shouldn't have to do it. You shouldn't have to worry about people getting offended about your story when it had the green light to be aired on TV and people are gonna watch it. And if you don't like it, then don't watch it. People can like what they like, people can write what they want to write, and they shouldn't have to censor it because of someone who randomly picked it up and thought that the portrayal of the female antagonist or a female person did not fit their liking. I'm gonna end that here. I've been talking for a while now. I don't know how much of it is actually good content. I mean, whatever. But if you enjoyed this video, hit like, comment, subscribe. Talk us if you want to. I am up to talking about it in the comments or whatever. If this is a discussion, this is my side of it. I obviously can't get anybody else's opinion because it's just me sitting here. So if you have comments on it, then go ahead, comment below. I read all of them. It's not like I get that many. So yeah, and I'll hopefully be getting a video out tomorrow. Probably me playing a game, playing a visual novel. It's probably what I want to do. I'm going to keep working on getting the video that was supposed to be out yesterday uncopywritten, because I'm not making any money off of it, so there's no need for it to be copywritten. But working on that, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.